Welcome to the second in this series of presentations that have been developed as part of the Plymouth College of Art and Atlantic Youth Creative Hub's Creative Entrepreneurs Business Incubation Programme. The programme was designed to support young creative entrepreneurs by providing the fundamental skills required to develop an idea, plan and start a business, and ultimately take their products and services to market. Through a series of workshops, events, and mentoring, participants have increased their business knowledge, gained confidence to start a new business, and develop their professional practice. My name is Mark Cotton, and I've produced this series of presentations to capture and share the content of the AYCH workshops, creating a resource for future reference. A business model describes the fundamentals of how an organization creates, delivers, and captures value. The business model is the starting point for your business, and this second presentation in the series introduces a simple tool to help create, develop, or review your business model. The session is a basic introduction to business strategy and the business planning process, which will hopefully demystify some of the language, help you to understand the different elements of your social enterprise, and leave you with some practical tools to help you make a start on your own business plan. So what do we mean by business planning? Business planning is the process of mapping out how you're going to get from where you are today to a point where you've achieved your vision or your goals or your aims. If you know where you're going, you're more likely to get there. Hopefully by now you have some idea about where your business is heading. So this session is about focusing on the planning process that will help you to get there. And there are two key elements of the business planning process: the business model and the business plan. So what's the difference between the two? First and foremost, the business plan is a tool for you to use in planning your future activities and operations. It's the story of the future that your organization wishes to create. It's a route map, but it's not a straitjacket. Essentially, it's the how of your business, project, or idea. However, before you can create a business plan, you will need to start thinking about your business model. The business model is the mechanism through which a company creates value. And by value, we mean profit, surplus, or even impact. If the business plan is the how, the business model is the what of your business, project, or idea, and is usually the first step in the business planning process. Without a business model, it can be difficult to develop a business plan. So how do we create a new business model or even review an existing one? As you can imagine, there's a huge amount of information out there about how to develop business models. But for me, the best guide is the Business Model Generation book. It's described as a handbook for visionaries, game changers, and challengers striving to defy outmoded business models and design tomorrow's enterprises. So people like you, hopefully. It's quite a comprehensive approach to business model development, and clearly we won't have time to go through the whole book today, but it's well worth a read if you get a chance. What we're going to focus on in this session, though, is the very first chapter of the Business Model Generation book, the Business Model Canvas chapter. So what is a business model canvas? Essentially, it's a strategic tool which is used to conceptualize new business models or to document existing ones. It's a visual framework for describing how the different elements of a business work together. It illustrates what a business does, who it does it for, who it does it with, the resources it needs to do it, and how the money flows in and out of the organization. And it's used predominantly by entrepreneurs, as it helps to transform ideas into innovative and competitive projects. And here it is. The business model canvas assumes that a business model is basically 9 key blocks that show how a company makes money. And these 9 blocks cover the 4 main areas of a business: the customers, the offer, the infrastructure, and the financial viability.
An organization's business model can be described with 9 basic building blocks: your customer segments, your value proposition for each segment, the channels to reach customers, customer relationships you establish, the revenue streams you generate, the key resources and key activities you require to create value, the key partners, and the cost structure of the business model. But it's not sufficient to just enumerate the 9 building blocks. What you really want to do is to map them out on a pre-structured canvas. This is what we call the business model canvas, a tool that helps you map, discuss, design, and invent new business models. Let's briefly go through the 9 building blocks, starting with the customer segments. These are all the people or organizations for which you're creating value. This includes simple users and paying customers. For each segment, you have a specific value proposition. These are the bundles of products and services that create value for your customers. The channels describe through which touchpoints you're interacting with customers and delivering value. The customer relationships outline the type of relationship you're establishing with your customers. The revenue streams make clear how and through which pricing mechanisms your business model is capturing value. Then you need to describe the infrastructure to create, deliver, and capture value. The key resources show which assets are indispensable in your business model. The key activities show which things you really need to be able to perform well. The key partners show who can help you leverage your business model, since you won't own all key resources yourself, nor will you perform all key activities. Then once you understand your business model's infrastructure, you'll also have an idea of its cost structure. So with the business model canvas, you can map out your entire business model in one image. This works for startup entrepreneurs just as well as for the most senior executives.
So an example of a work canvas might look something like this. This is a business model canvas for a bank. Any bank, essentially, they're all the same. In the middle, we have the value proposition. Now, with the bank, they have 2 main products, their deposit products and their loan products. So essentially, the money that they lend to you or the money that you deposit with them. Their customer relationships are built around 2 key areas. That's kind of personal, face-to-face engagement or automated engagement where possible. Their customer segments are their retail and corporate customers who are lending money to the bank or depositing money to the bank, and the retail and corporate customers who are borrowing money from the bank. Their channels are through their branches, their ATMs, their call centers, through the internet, through mobile devices, through apps. And their key activities are delivering the services through those branches, through the call centers, and through the IT operations. Their key partners are their investment partners, because banks need money, so they have to have relationships with investors. They have technology partners, because to run all of that automation, they need to have the technology in place in order to manage that. And the regulatory agencies, because the banks are very heavily regulated, so they will have a partnership relationship with the regulators. And their key resources are essentially the physical and IT infrastructure needed to get their products to market, and also the loan assets, the capital that they have. The cost structure is essentially their interest expenses, so the money that they have to pay out in interest to borrowers, and the channel costs. So what does it cost to get their products to market? And they make their money through generating interest and fees through the products and services that they take to market. Here's another one. This is for Gillette razors and blades. So their value proposition are their razor blades and the handles. They have a lock-in relationship with their customers, because you buy a handle and you replace the blades, and only their blades fit their handles, and they get you to sign up for a subscription service, etc., etc. Their channels are through retail and increasingly online, and their customer segments are essentially mass customers. They are marketing their product to anyone that has a use for razors and blades. Their key activities are marketing and research and development, and the logistics of getting the product to market. Their key partners are their manufacturers and their retailers, and the key resources is their huge brand and the patents that they have in place to protect their designs and protect their products. They spend their money on marketing and on logistics and on manufacturing and on research and design. And they also then make their money by selling the handle and then on selling frequent blade replacements. Here's another one, this time for Google. As you can see, it's all very high level. The business model canvas is not the place for lots of detail. It's where you can capture the essence of your business. What does the model look like? How does it work? How do the different elements of your business fit together? Is there something that you don't know? And therefore, do you need to go and find out? By going through the business model canvas process, you will identify not only what you know, but also what you don't know.
The business model generation is actually a collaboration of work from 470 entrepreneurs, professors, and CEOs from 45 countries. What they were able to do was to break down any business model into the essential 9 building blocks that make up any business. One of their pieces of advice is to use visuals to better communicate your business. So to show you what the business model canvas is and how you too can use visuals, let's go through one together. And instead of going through something obscure like a tech business, let's just start with something simple, like Sammy's Super Sandwich Shop. So let's say Sammy is tired of eating at fast food joints because of their low quality food. So Sammy decides that this is what he wants to change, and to provide people with great tasting organic sandwiches. This is Sammy's value proposition. Next, Sammy has to decide who his customers are. Naturally, organic food is expensive, so Sammy could only cater to people with a lot of money. But Sammy wants to provide organic food to everyone, from successful entrepreneurs to struggling entrepreneurs. By doing this, Sammy has also added to his value proposition. He now also aims to provide a low-cost organic food option as well. In order for Sammy to deliver the value of his super sandwiches, Sammy must decide how and where Sammy's customers will be able to buy his food. In this process, Sammy has to make sure that he is using the proper channels to reach all the customers that he wants to deliver value to. So Sammy may decide to use kiosks to reach everyday people, his own specialty catered shops where he sells his sandwiches for successful entrepreneurs, and maybe he uses supermarkets to deliver pre-made sandwiches to the struggling entrepreneurs. But in order for Sammy to get customers through the doors, he must establish relationships with his customers. Here, Sammy could decide to launch a national ad campaign. Afterwards, Sammy may also decide to include some coupons in the local papers to entice new customers to go to his shops. And finally, once Sammy has his customers, he can provide them with a loyalty card where they get 1 free sandwich after they buy 9. After this comes every startup's favorite part, adding up all the money that you have made through your sales. For Sammy, this includes the revenue made off of his sandwiches and drinks, but it also includes the revenue from apparel sales and even selling little bottles of his secret hot sauce. All this combines into a nice green pile for Sammy. After celebrating how much money Sammy is going to make, it is time for him to focus on his business and how he's actually going to pull it all off. First, Sammy must identify the key resources he's going to need to make it all happen. This will include his store locations, protecting his secret formula, and all the elite chefs at his disposal. After Sammy has identified his key resources, he can move on to his key activities. This would include stuff like his national advertising campaign and creating new delicious sandwiches that all of his customers would enjoy. After Sammy knows how he's going to pull everything off, it's time that he identified his partners. First, he's going to have to establish a partnership with the local farmers so that he doesn't have to invest in starting his own farm. And then, to get the food from the farms to his stores, Sammy is going to have to ship his food. Instead of investing in his own trucks, Sammy can instead hire someone to handle his distribution for him. Since Sammy is in the sandwich business, Sammy will also have to partner with a manufacturer in order to produce the clothing that he will be selling at his stores. After Sammy has figured out everything he needs and everything he has to do, it's time for him to do his least favorite thing: add up all his costs. Here, Sammy would include costs like paying for the food itself to the truckers that deliver the food to his stores. Sammy will also include the cost of his national ad campaign, the costs for the clothing, his chef's salaries, and the rent for his stores. After adding all this up, Sammy gets his cost structure. When all is said and done, Sammy will sit down and subtract his costs from his revenues, and he will get his profits. And since Sammy's sandwiches have been selling off the shelves, Sammy will be going home with a nice paycheck. But the most important part of Sammy's business model, and your business model, is that no business can stay afloat for long without profitable customers.
So the thing to remember about the business model canvas is that it's just a tool. As you've seen there with Sammy's Super Sandwich Shop, if you want to use visuals or graphics to articulate how your business model canvas works, then that's fine. It's okay to personalize the canvas and maybe call the block something which you might be more familiar with, provided the essence of the block remains the same. For example, you might want to replace channels with marketing and sales, and maybe add in a block specifically for competitors, as it's important to understand who you might be in competition with. And as a social enterprise, you might also want to include beneficiaries as a separate block, as well as customers, because it's important that you understand the different relationship that you're going to have with those two groups of people. And clearly, as a social business, then social or environmental impact will be important to you. So you might want to add another block for impact. And these are the kinds of questions you might want to be asking yourself when developing your canvas. So with the value proposition, what is it that you're offering? Are there different offers? What's unique about your offer? And what is the problem you're trying to fix? With your customers, who are they? Who is it that you're creating value for? And how well do you know these people? With sales and marketing, what are your sales channels? How will you get your products and services to market? And how well do you understand that market? With your beneficiaries, who is it that benefits most from what you're creating? And where are they? And do you understand their needs? And who are you creating impact for? With the competitors, who is it that does similar things to you? Who could do in the future? And how are you different from the competition? With the key partners, whose help do you have or need? Who are your suppliers? What are the key activities that your partners perform? And with your key activities, it's what key activities do your value propositions need? What is it that you need to do to create your value proposition? What will you actually be doing? And how will it be delivered? And what are the key resources that you need to have in place? Is that your brand, your policies, your staff, your equipment, your premises, your IT, etc., etc.? And what are you spending your money on? What does it cost you to deliver? What are your key budget lines? What is your cost structure? And where does your money come from? What are your income generating products or services? What are your revenue streams? And then with impact, what outcomes are you aiming for? And how do you know when you've made a difference? How do you know when you've achieved the impact that you set out to achieve? So lots to think about there. Lots to think about in terms of your business model and how it all fits together. What is it that you know and what is it that you don't know? The business model canvas will help you to identify those things. So thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation from the AYCH Creative Entrepreneurs Business Incubation Program. Please join me for the next in the series. Goodbye.